Red Dead Redemption 2's ending with Arthur Morgan stands as one of the most depressed and heartbreaking endings in video game history. You spend over 60 hours living as Arthur Morgan, the loyal enforcer of the Van der Linde gang. You ride with him across the dying American frontier, rob trains, share campfires, and slowly watch his faith in Dutch's dream crumble as the law tightens its grip and the Old West fades away. Then, early in the story, Arthur beats a debtor for money and contracts tuberculosis from a sick man. The game doesn't overwhelm you with it immediately. Instead, it creeps in through small details. The worsening coughs during long rides, the blood-stained handkerchiefs, the way Arthur begins slowing down in shootouts, you feel the weight of his mortality long before the final chapters. As the gang fractures and turns on itself, Arthur faces an impossible choice. In the high honor path, he chooses redemption over loyalty. He fights to help John, Abigail, and young Jack escape the Pinkertons during the chaotic oil refinery battle. In his final moments, Arthur faces Micah one last time, gets stabbed, and crawls up a snowy mountain as the sun begins to rise. The orchestral score swells beautifully while the camera pulls back, showing Arthur Morgan, a man who lived a life of violence and regret, finally finding peace as he watches one of the most stunning sunrises in gaming. Dutch stands silently nearby before simply walking away. It's not just the death of a character, it's the death of an entire way of life. The dream of freedom, the brotherhood of the gang, the hope for something better, all of it dies with Arthur on that mountain. Many players have admitted they sat in complete silence for minutes after the credits rolled, some even crying because Arthur felt like a close friend they had ridden beside for dozens of hours. Then the epilogue hits, and you play as John Marston, already knowing exactly how his story will end too. The emotional weight is crushing, but if you thought that was heavy, the ending of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1 with Lee Everett will destroy you in an entirely different way. You play as Lee, a convicted murderer thrust into the zombie apocalypse. Early on, you meet 8-year-old Clementine, a smart, innocent girl separated from her parents. Over the course of 5 emotional episodes, you become her protector and father figure. You teach her how to shoot, how to make hard choices, and how to survive in a broken world. In return, she teaches you how to hold on to your humanity. The bond the two of you build feels deeper and more real than most family stories and games. In the finale, Lee gets bitten. He knows he doesn't have much time left, so he does the only thing he can. He gets Clementine to safety in the flooded ruins of Savannah. The last scene takes place in a dark, abandoned jewelry store. Lee is handcuffed to a radiator, his body failing as the infection takes over. You control the final conversation. You tell her to keep her hair short, to stay strong, and to never stop believing she can find her parents. Then comes the hardest choice. You must decide whether to have Clementine shoot you or leave you behind to turn. Either way, the camera lingers on Lee's face as life slowly leaves him. Clementine puts on his hat, looks back one final time with tears in her eyes, and walks out into the unknown alone. The screen fades to black over a haunting piano melody. It's heartbreaking because you spent the entire game trying to protect this little girl. And in the end, you become the very thing she has to leave behind. You fail to save her from the pain of loss. Many players still say that Final Goodbye felt like losing their own child. It's quiet, intimate, and absolutely devastating. Nier Automata's Ending E delivers one of the most existentially depressed and heartbreaking conclusions ever put into a video game. You play through multiple routes as the androids 2B and 9S in a ruined Earth where machines and androids have been locked in a meaningless war for hundreds of years. The story slowly reveals the devastating truth. Humanity has already gone extinct, the war itself was built on lies, and every sacrifice and death was ultimately pointless. 2B is forced to repeatedly kill 9S while suppressing her own emotions, as the game drowns in themes of loss, identity, and the futility of existence. In Ending E, after the final brutal boss fight, 2 small pods offer to erase the characters' memories so they can live in blissful ignorance. But then the game turns directly to you, the player. It asks you to sacrifice your own save file to help other players still struggling. The credits transform into a bullet hell shooter, and you destroy them with assistance from messages left by thousands of strangers who sacrificed their data before you. When it's over, the pods give 2B and 9S one final chance at happiness, but you know the cycle of suffering will likely begin again. It's not simply sad, it's existentially crushing. The game forces you to personally give up something real so these fictional androids can have a moment of peace. Many players have described feeling genuinely empty for days after experiencing it. SOMA's ending is the kind of quiet, philosophical gut punch that stays with you for years. After you finish the game, you awaken as Simon Jarrett inside the underwater research facility Pathos 2 after a brain scan intended to treat your terminal brain damage. The station is filled with grotesque, mutated creatures. As you explore deeper, you uncover the horrifying reality. You are not the original Simon. You are merely a digital copy of his consciousness uploaded into a diving suit. The real Simon died on the operating table long ago. Throughout the game, you are forced to confront what you even means when consciousness can be copied and transferred. In the final moments, you reach the last arc, a digital paradise designed to preserve the last remnants of humanity. To launch it safely, a terrible choice must be made. Then the screen cuts back to the original Simon, the version you have been controlling the whole time, left behind in the pitch-black rotting facility, alone forever. The Ark launches into space carrying the copied consciousnesses, but your Simon remains trapped in the darkness of the ocean floor, screaming into the void alongside the monsters. There is no triumphant music, no sense of closure, just the cold realization that you helped save what remains of humanity while condemning yourself to eternal, lonely suffering. It remains one of the most existentially depressing endings in gaming history. Halo Reach's ending with Noble Six is pure military tragedy that still emotionally wrecks players more than a decade later. You play as the final surviving member of Noble Team during the catastrophic fall of Reach. One by one, you watch every squad mate die heroically. Jorge, Kat, Carter, Emil, and the others. In the final mission, you are ordered to defend the Pillar of Autumn so it can escape with humanity's last hope. You fight endless waves of Covenant forces on the burning surface of the planet. Eventually, you stand completely alone, surrounded and out of ammunition. The final shot shows Noble Six standing defiantly on a hill as plasma fire rains down. The camera slowly pulls back while the screen fades to black as the Autumn escapes into space. Later, lore confirms that Six was eventually overwhelmed and killed. Reach fell, billions died, and you, the player, were the last Spartan holding the line until the bitter end, buying time that couldn't ultimately save the planet. It's heartbreaking because it feels so realistic. There is no last-second rescue, no grand heroic speech, just one soldier standing alone against impossible odds until everything is lost. Spec Ops. The Line's ending is the kind of psychological breakdown that makes you question why you play games at all. You step into the boots of Captain Walker, leading a Delta Force team into a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai on a rescue mission. The game begins like any other modern military shooter until the white phosphorus incident. You call in an airstrike on what you believe are enemy forces, only to discover afterward that you burned alive hundreds of civilians and your own American soldiers. The horror shatters Walker's mind. By the end, your squad is dead. You're hallucinating badly, and the game forces you to face the monster you have become. The final choices are brutal. Kill yourself, execute the surviving civilians begging for mercy, or simply walk away into the desert. No matter which path you take, the epilogue narration reveals the truth. You are a war criminal who murdered your own men and destroyed what remained of the city. The screen fades on Walker's broken, defeated face while the same haunting music loops. It's not just a sad ending. It's a direct condemnation of the player for enjoying the violence throughout the entire campaign. It remains one of the most uncomfortable and depressed finales in video game history. And finally, BioShock Infinite's ending with Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth delivers a mind-bending, soul-crushing twist that completely redefines everything you experienced. You play as Booker, a washed-up private detective sent to the floating city of Columbia to rescue Elizabeth, a young woman locked in a tower. As the story unfolds, you uncover that Booker is actually Zachary Comstock from an alternate timeline, and that every version of Columbia exists because of the terrible choices he once made. Elizabeth is revealed to be his own daughter, Anna, stolen from him years earlier. In the final lighthouse sequence, Elizabeth reveals the full, horrifying truth. To break the infinite cycle of suffering and stop Comstock from ever existing, Booker must allow himself to be drowned in the river before he can become Comstock. One by one, every version of Elizabeth from every timeline appears and holds him under the water as the screen slowly fades to black. The last thing you hear is Booker's muffled struggle, followed by silence. It's heartbreaking, because the hero you controlled throughout the entire game had to die willingly so that his daughter could finally be free. There is no victory lap, no happy family reunion, just an endless loop of pain, finally broken by one tragic, selfless act. Those are some of the most depressed and heartbreaking endings in video game history. These aren't just moments that make you feel sad for a few minutes. They stay with you long after the credits roll. They change how you see the games and sometimes even how you see life itself. Drop a comment below and tell me which ending hit you the hardest. Was there one I missed that completely destroyed you emotionally? Let me know. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.